qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but thought it would be too difficult? Then try Babbel. Babbel starts by teaching you words and phrases that gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations. So in 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking a new language in a few weeks. Babbel is built around real life. It teaches you practical conversations that you will actually use. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to babbel.com today. That's BABBEL.com.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more.
We are just a few days out from Super Bowl 56. How about that? Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you live here on a Thursday. I felt yesterday, Kev, that this week was just kind of dragging a little bit, that it was just kind of, we're just walking through mud. But now I'm like, holy crap, it's Thursday. We're wrapping today up, and then tomorrow's Friday, and boom, we're right into the weekend. I'm telling you, like I said the other day, it's one thing when you have two teams in the Super Bowl and those teams aren't yours. It's like, okay, you kind of enjoy the 2-week build to it. But I think the Bengals and Rams fans, they're just tired of it. They're tired of hearing about it. They're tired of the over-unders. They're tired of the quarterback comparisons. They're tired of the offensive line talk for the Bengals. They're tired of, how great Darren Donald. They're all tired of it. They're all tired of hearing about the other team. They're all tired of hearing about the same narratives. 2 weeks. If your team's in the Super Bowl, 2 weeks, that's brutal, right? Like,
an eternity.
I would have to think that that's the case. But at the same time, is that the case? Bengals fans, I'm not saying that you're this is a weird question. I don't think you're tired of hearing about your team in the media, especially a team like the Bengals who gets no love ever. They're finally up on this stage now that everyone is just doing nothing but talking Bengals this, Bengals that. So it's kind of one of those where, is that the case where you're fine with the 2-week break between, because that's just more time that you're having your team, kick off all of the major network shows out there as far as, all the big time shows? Maybe there's that aspect to it too, but I feel like if my team, if the Browns or the Cowboys was in the Super Bowl, I would have enjoyed the hell out of last week. I would have probably enjoyed Monday and Tuesday, but by the time Wednesday and Thursday gets here, it's like, okay, I'm sick of the over-unders. I don't care what Vegas says. I don't care about the Bengals offensive line. Can we just get to the game already? I feel like 2 weeks has to just be brutal for the fans of the teams that are in the damn Super Bowl.
Yeah. Because you want the game to get played. You want to see if you really are the best team in the NFL. You want to see if you're going to be hoisting that Lombardi trophy. You want to make plans to go to the parade if there is one. You want this game to happen. You want to see what happens. I mean, it's totally different when your team is in the game. We kind of talked about this before. Like, when you have Super Bowl parties and everything like that, and your team's not in the game, you order your pizza, you have your beverages, you eat your wings, you're watching for the movie trailers, you're watching for all the cool commercials, you're watching the halftime show, you're having a party. It's a good time. And you're hopeful for a good time. But the real activity is being around people and having fun and everything like that. It totally changes when it's your team. I know Bengals fans that aren't having parties this year. Mm-hmm. I know Bengals fans that will be sitting in their room by themselves because they're going to be so nervous, hopeful that their team wins this game. So it's a totally different animal when your team is in the game.
Absolutely. 518-1410, by the way, that's the number to call in to jump in on the conversation as we kick things off here on a Thursday. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. And, of course, Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street, which, by the way, Sully with Talking Out Loud will be live at Timothy's Bar and Grill this Saturday. Noon pregame show for the Dayton Flyers, of course, from noon to 1:30. Go hang out with Sully out at Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street again as he gets you set for the Dayton Flyers. Again, they'll be in action at home coming up on Saturday, and we'll have more information for you coming up around the corner. Jake Whiting, Kev, he says, this is absolutely hell. I just want it to be Sunday already. So, Jake, you're a prime example. Like, you love all of the talk about the Bengals, right? And it's not, some things you probably don't like, but like, compared to a year ago at this time, if the Bengals were being mentioned, joke of a franchise. They about ruined their franchise quarterback. Look how bad the offensive line is. And that's just coming from me. That's not even on the other shows. So that's what's crazy is right now, all the love that the Bengals are getting. Do you want this week to end? Right? Like, you know what I mean? It's that double-edged sword. Like, you kind of don't want the week to end because you want Sunday to get here. But let's say Sunday gets here and it's not the result you want, Kev. Let's say that you get beat. Maybe not blown out. Let's just say you get beat. Or let's say you get blown out. We know how quickly narratives change. A year ago at this time, Patrick Mahomes was up on the top of the mountain despite losing the Super Bowl. Tom Brady is the greatest that's ever lived. That's all that was being talked about. But everyone kept saying that, hey, you know what? This is Patrick Mahomes' league now moving forward. Now look where we're at. Now the media has jumped on to the next hot ticket in town. That's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is about to be the face of the league, right? That's what everyone keeps talking about this week. It's Joey B, Joe Burr, whatever the hell nickname he has. So, Bill Burr, who gives a rip? I don't care what his name. But, they could lose on Sunday, and then all of this Joey B, this is his league talk that's been going on this week, that's out the window. That's how quick these things change. So that's why I'm thinking you kind of want this week to keep dragging a little bit. You want the talk to continue. Because the Bengals may not get this kind of hype again. You don't know. Don't tell me that you know. You don't know. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but you don't know. We're going to talk here in a moment. If you look at the NFL landscape, a year ago at this time, even you diehard Bengals fans who are the biggest homers I know, not even you were predicting the Bengals to be in the Super Bowl at this time. So there are franchises who are all sitting at home right now thinking about their cap space, thinking about the draft coming up, thinking about what kind of bad season they just had. You look at the Jets, you look at the Jaguars, you look at the teams that missed the playoffs, Kev. They're all sitting there thinking how to get better.
Right.
Do you think the Jets are thinking about being in the Super Bowl next year? I'm sure they would want to be, but I think they're thinking there's no way in hell. Just like the Bengals were a year ago. And don't tell me you knew they were going to be here. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody thought that. Okay. I'm not even going to let anyone take credit for that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Charlie called it.
Charlie. Dickie from Dayton did say that he called it. So I'll give Dickie that. But in all seriousness, at this point, there are teams sitting at home right now that think they don't have a chance to be just like the Bengals were a year ago, and look at where they're at. You look around the NFL right now. You look at some of the worst teams in the NFL. You look at the standings and how all that's unfolded. There's the Jets. There's the Jaguars. There's a lot of teams that you look at and circle and say, oh, they're nowhere close to being able to win a Super Bowl as currently constructed. The Jets are a 4-win team. Jacksonville's a 3-win team. Hell, the Houston Texans, how did they win 4 games, by the way? I don't get it. They won more games than Urban Meyer's Jacksonville Jaguars or his old Jaguars team. You just look around, like the Giants are a 4-win team. Washington's a bad 7-win team. Hell, the Eagles made the playoffs, and I don't get that either. The NFC is just horrible. The Detroit Lions, right? The Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers. You look at all these teams that are sitting at home right now, and there's a lot of non-playoff teams, but these are the bottom of the barrel teams that don't have any real weapons at this point. And you look at them and you say, which of these teams could potentially be that Cincinnati Bengals team a year from now? What if I said, guys, I'm calling it now. All right. The New York Jets will be in the Super Bowl next year. You will laugh at me. You will say that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you would have said that about the Bengals a year ago, you would have got that same reaction. But here they are, right? Like, that's what's amazing about the NFL. That worst to first narrative plays out more times than you think. This reminds me of years ago with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was the year they drafted Leonard Fournette. It was actually the same year the Bengals got Joe Mixon. But that year that they got Leonard Fournette, they went from 3-13, Kev, to 13-3, and we're a quarter away from getting to the Super Bowl, almost beating the Patriots to get to the out of the AFC. That's the last time I remember a team that was that bad one year and a quarter away from a Super Bowl the next. And then you have the Bengals, who were that bad last year, a 4-win team. And then all of a sudden the Super Bowl could potentially be your Super Bowl champions coming up here in just 3 days. So, Kevin, you look at the landscape of the NFL right now, which of these teams, you look at the Jets, 4-1 team. You could include non-playoff teams, but I think the Dolphins, the Dolphins have so much payroll. The Chargers are right there. I mean, the Chargers, honestly, they are the Cincinnati Bengals as well. Like, they have the same deficiencies, not the same deficiencies. They have the same strengths. Their offensive line's better, but they have the same quarterback. They have the same type of prowess offensively. But, I'm not going to include them. I'm talking about the bottom of the barrel teams like where the Bengals were a year ago. That's what makes their Super Bowl appearance so just unreal right now. The Jets, 4-13. All right. The Houston Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, 4-3-win teams. The Giants are a 4-win team. The Detroit Lions are 3-13. Kev, do we have a Cincinnati Bengals team in here that we're looking at the bottom of the barrel, and then all of a sudden a year from now we're talking about the Lions in the Super Bowl? Could we be talking about the Jags or the Texans in the Super Bowl? What about the Jets? What about your horrible Pittsburgh Steelers? No, I'm joking. But there has to, one of those teams. It's like I sound weird saying that one of those teams could be in the Super Bowl, but the Bengals are in the Super Bowl, Kev. That was the Bengals a year ago. They were the bottom of the barrel. They were an embarrassing franchise a year ago. Who is next year's Bengals? Do we have a next year's Bengals by any chance in your eyes?
If I had to pick a team out of those teams that you mentioned, I would pick the Jaguars. I picked the Jaguars for this reason alone. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach, Doug Peterson. I was a proponent of saying that the Chicago Bears should have hired Doug Peterson to help our guy Justin Fields out. He's won a championship with a backup quarterback with Nick Foles, and Carson had his best years with him, under him, and everything like that. So I'm with that. I'm with the Jacksonville Jaguars and getting Trevor Lawrence a quarterback coach and getting him an offensive play caller like Doug Peterson. Then also you throw in the fact that they got a lot of money to spend, a lot of money that they didn't spend last year. So now they have that still in their back pocket to spend money, and they still have the number 1 pick in the draft this year. So you're going to get the best player available. If you choose to fix up the offensive line, getting Evan Neal out of Alabama, you want to get an edge rusher like Hutchinson or something like that, you have the number 1 pick in the draft. You have a ton of money to spend. You have a new head coach, an offensive-minded head coach with a young quarterback. I think they're in prime position for opportunity to have a real bounce-back season. Super Bowl, I don't know about that, but I think they're going to have a real good season.
But see, I'm glad you said that, because that's the thing. Super Bowl, I don't know about that. That was the Bengals, right?
Bengals weren't the worst team in the league last year. Jacksonville has the number 1 pick.
So, okay, in back-to-back years, you're right.
Yeah.
So they won 3. How many of the games did they win last year? 2?
I think it was 2.
So they're on a...
I think they won the first game. They definitely won the first game of the season, and then they think they won one like later on. I can find out, though.
Oh, and I wasn't trying to argue that the Jags were better than the Bengals the last 2 years, but the Jags are a 5-win team over the last 2 years. The Bengals were a 6-win team the previous 2 years. So, yeah, you look at that. I mean, and those are good, too. Here's why I would have to agree with you. Although there's another team I could pick if I put them in this category, and I was debating whether to put them in this category or not. But, if you look at Jacksonville, you look at Houston, the Giants at 4-13, Detroit 3-13. Here's why the Giants, they go get Daboll, who's a good offensive-minded, head coach now, coordinator from the Buffalo Bills, did a great job with Josh Allen, or Josh Allen did a great job with him. Not really sure. We'll find out. But I can't pick the Giants. I can't pick the Lions. I can't pick the Carolina Panthers. I can't pick the Houston Texans.
Running out of teams.
Maybe the Houston Texans if Deshaun Watson is back, but I'm not. As of right now, he's not.
Right.
The Jets, no. Here's what all these teams here's what all these teams have in common. They don't have a quarterback. There's only one team that has a quarterback, and that's the team Kev just listed, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like Trevor Lawrence, I do believe is the real deal. I know his rookie year didn't look as impressive as what we saw from a Justin Herbert a few years ago, as what we saw from even Joe Burrow last year. But as I've said before, you put Joe Burrow coming out of college on this Jaguars team with no receivers, no run game, no offensive line, no nothing. Joe Burrow doesn't look like Joe Burrow did last year. I know that the Bengals were horrible last year, but they had T. Higgins. You had Tyler Boyd, a veteran wide receiver. You had Joe Mixon, an experienced running back. You know what I mean? Like, you had an offensive-minded head coach. They had the schemes in place with enough weapons for Joe Burrow to be able to make plays, right? It's not like it's not like the Bengals were just completely without talent and Joe Burrow's just throwing it to a bunch of Joe Schmoes out there. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference. Trevor Lawrence didn't have anybody. Trevor Lawrence didn't have a T. Higgins or a Tyler Boyd or a Joe Mixon. Trevor Lawrence didn't have that. But I do believe that he is better than what he looked this year. And I think that the Jaguars are going to be in good position to build this roster stronger next year, Kev. The Jacksonville Jaguars have $56 million to spend. Okay. The Jacksonville Jaguars could be that team that is in that situation. Here's another team that could potentially be there that I don't know if this is my Ohio State homerism coming into play here. Let me just ask you straight up. Do the Bears have a quarterback? Is Justin Fields a quarterback? Are we giving him a little extra time because of our Buckeye fandom?
Absolutely, we are.
And fine, well, knowing that, do they have a quarterback?
I think he played decent I don't think he was horrible. I think he played decent out of the rookie quarterbacks. Obviously, Mac Jones, he had the most team success and everything like that. And I would put Justin Fields probably like second or third. I mean, he played better than Zach Wilson did. You know, I think he had an up and down situation. And if I tell you this, if Doug Peterson was the Bears head coach, I would pick them.
Yep.
I would have picked them.
So that was my next point too, is yes, they have the quarterback, but I'm not a big fan of, I have no clue why the Bears went with Matt Eberflus, again, a defensive coordinator. Where did he come from? Where
I forget. I just read. That's what they normally do. They went with the offensive guy. Now they go with the defensive guy. It's just so predictable, man. Like this whole situation with the Bears is predictable, man. I feel bad for Justin Fields because he's in this situation, man. And I just was hopeful that all the rumors we were hearing about San Francisco jumping up to get Trey Lance were false, that they were jumping up there to get Fields. But unfortunately, he's not. He's with the Bears. The Bears are the Bears.
And that's the thing too. If they would have if they would have got a Dable, or if the Browns, if the Bears would have ended up getting, let's say they would have gone out and were able to get the coordinator from the Kansas City Chiefs and Bieniemy, I would feel better about the direction of the Bears.
Yep.
It's the coach that they have with the tough year that Justin Fields had on top of a new system he's going to have to learn. And that's why I'm concerned about Justin Fields in year 2. If they had a better coach, I would say that the Bears have a good chance of being the Bengals of 2022. That team that was bottom of the barrel the previous season and finds themselves in a Cinderella Super Bowl appearance. And Cinderella didn't have that same March Madness connotation, but it's that magical year. Like no one expected this. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I agree with you. I think it has to be the Jacksonville Jaguars just because of all the teams that are in the bottom of the barrel. They're the only ones that have a potential MVP caliber quarterback in his future. I don't believe that's the case with the Jets. I don't believe that's the case with the Texans because although they have Deshaun Watson, I don't know if he'll ever play in the NFL again.
Right.
Trevor Bauer out of Major League Baseball had some of his legal situation taken care of yesterday, but he's not out of the doghouse with Major League Baseball yet. And normally I would say baseball has the right to just kind of let it go. Like, hey, it figured itself out in court. They could just let him go. But Trevor Bauer goes at Rob Manfred more than any other player. He literally has called him a moron in press conferences and in interviews with the media. So, and on his podcast, Rob Manfred will make him pay. Rob Manfred will suspend him. It's just a matter of same thing with Deshaun Watson at this point, although not outspoken like Bauer when it comes to Roger Goodell in the NFL. But Deshaun Watson, although let's say he does get cleared, let's say that he his case gets bought out or whatever, Roger Goodell still has the right to suspend him, and for how long, that could be key. So no, the Texans are out. The only team that I think can make that worst to first jump is the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I just don't see that either in the AFC. I don't. Here's the team if I want to give our non-playoff team that if I had to put money on to be in the Super Bowl next year, it's the Chargers for me. I would love to say my Cleveland Browns, by the way. I would love to say my Cleveland Browns. But, Kev, the Chargers, they have a top 4 offense in the National Football League. They have a top 10 defense, still missed the playoffs. They were 7 or 8 win team or what have you. But when you look at the cap space, they have the second most cap space. They have $60 million to spend. They have $60 million to spend. The Bengals have $60 million to spend, but they have glaring holes, Kev, to where the Jaguars, they have a nice wide receiver. They have a good run game. They need to tune up that defense, put their offensive lines in place. You know what I mean? Like they're solid in a lot of positions, and they already have a great quarterback who statistically was better than like the Josh Allens and the Joe Burrows of the world. So for me, I could see the Chargers easily in the Super Bowl next year if they knock it out of the park in the draft and they kill it with their free agent spending. The playoff team, the non-playoff team from this year that I could see in the Super Bowl next year, as far as if we're bringing everyone back to the table, I could see the Chargers in the Super Bowl next year out of the AFC. Although, like I've said before, the AFC is stacked. The Bengals are only going to get better. They have $55 million to spend. They had more than any other team in the playoffs, and look at where they're at right now. They're going to get better. The Bills will be better. The Chiefs will get better. All these teams are going to get better. Maybe the Broncos get Aaron Rodgers. Maybe the Titans get Aaron Rodgers. I think that the Chargers they're about to be that next big thing out of the AFC, and I can't wait to see that. I'm a big Justin Herbert fan.
Are we kicking field goals? Are we punting the ball? What are we doing from the head coaching perspective?
Crap, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
because I don't care how much talent you have. If you keep going for it on 4th and 2 from your own 20-yard line, basically gifting the other team points or passing up on opportunities to score points multiple times inside the opponent's red zone, I don't care how much talent you got out there. If you're doing bonehead things like that, like Brandon Staley did all season long and acting like we don't know football, acting like the people that came before him were stupid and he's the new mastermind of the NFL and says like, yeah, field goals, we're only kicking them for 40 yards out. Like, whatever, dude, whatever. I'm at first year. He has the opportunity to correct some of the wrongs. Look at the tape. GM can go have a conversation with him saying, hey, man, we need to get some of these points. Like, we can be aggressive. I'm all about aggressive. I didn't even mind not kicking field goals inside the red zone as much as other people. But what I did mind several times, several games, going for it on 4th down inside your 20.
Well, your team was that one. You're a Steelers fan. The Steelers years ago were one of the first teams to really start becoming aggressive on 4th down.
Yes.
I remember the Steelers were always within the talking points of these shows of, oh man, look how much, Mike Tomlin goes for it on 4th down, but he was selective about it. It wasn't this mindset of, 4th down, we're going for it. It's called being smart and being aggressive. I respect when the Chargers and Staley are aggressive, but not stupid aggressive.
Yes.
Not riding your bike without a helmet aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Like that, riding around without a seatbelt aggressive, like that type of deal.
Yeah, you get past the 50, it's 4th and 3. You kind of like in that no man's land where it's too far for a field goal. If you punt it and it goes in the end zone, you basically only gain like 12 yards of field position. Yeah, go for that. But when you're at your own 20, the playoffs are on the line and you're going for it and you're getting stuffed, or, all right, man, this is our 2nd or 3rd trip inside the red zone and we haven't scored the first 2 times. And, oh, yeah, we still going to go for it. Like, yo, man, if you're to kick 3 field goals, that's 9 points. That's a touchdown plus. Like, some of that over aggressiveness is just way too much. And the thing about it that puzzles me, because he's a defensive coach. So normally when you think of a defensive coach, you think of like, oh man, hard-nosed running game, keep the score close and stuff like that. We're winning with defense. I respect the fact that, he's not just a strictly defensive guy and everything like that. I respect that. And I respect the aggressiveness, but over aggressiveness will get you beat too.
All right. 518-1410. 518-1410. That's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. We opened up the show today, of course, discussing, look at all the teams at the bottom of the barrel, exactly where the Bengals were a year ago. No one expected the Bengals to be competing for a Super Bowl in 2022, but yet here they are. So for next season, for where we're at right now, look at the teams at the bottom of the barrel. You have the Texans, you have the Jaguars, you have the Giants. I mean, you have a lot of teams. Which of those teams has the best chance to replicate what the Bengals did this year? 518-1410, 518-1410. Who's the Cincinnati Bengals of next season? Bottom of the barrel to a Super Bowl. Where's that team? Does that team exist? We both think it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning head coach, taking over. An offensive-minded head coach now has a quarterback as well. We'll see what happens there. But I think that they're most equipped to be able to pull off what the Bengals have done this year, although unlikely. We'll see what happens. But 518-1410, that's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. Jeffrey Thompson on Facebook, Kev, says, to be fair, I call the Bengals Super Bowl. But to also be fair, I've said that prior to every season for the last 20 years. So I respect his honesty. But yes, well, I said that all year. I picked the Browns to win every single week. And then when they would win, I'd be like, see, I told you so.
Told you so.
I know all. I know nothing. By the way, a year ago at this time, oh, no, not at this time, I guess. It was after the draft. Remember my Bengals 30 for 30?
Mm-hmm.
I went through the archives today.
Oh, boy.
Justin Kinner's 30 for 30 Bengals draft edition, and it was titled, We Just Can't Have Nice Things.
This should be good.
I have done a lot of eating crow this week, but when I came across that earlier this afternoon, I was dying laughing. So I want to share that with everyone. 30 for 30. We just can't have nice things. The Cincinnati Bengals story. We'll rehash that from last summer. I got that coming up for you guys as well. A lot to get into. Chatted with Ickey Woods from Los Angeles earlier today. He's going to get back with me. He's going to be coming on to hang out with us here in a bit. Can't wait to talk with Ickey and catch up with him. But that's all coming up. A jam-packed show coming your way. Also, for you NBA fans out there, busy day at the trade deadline. Finally, a couple big blockbuster moves. We'll talk about that around the corner in our segment that basically covers anything non-Super Bowl related. If the Super Bowl didn't exist, What would be the top headlines in sports? We got that coming up for you at the top of the 4 o'clock hour as well. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty, and of course, Timothy's Bar and Grill on Brown Street. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Now is the time to experience the Brookhaven difference. Don't miss your chance to live in an active retirement community, make new friends, and enjoy chef-cooked meals. 1 month free when you schedule your tour by February 28th by calling 937-833-4006. At Brookhaven, we have everything you need to live an active, independent lifestyle. Call 833-4006 today. Brookhaven, expect to be impressed.
This is Dan. Dan uses Navy Federal Credit Union to save and invest. Luckily for him, Navy Federal takes the legwork out of managing his money, which gives Dan time to work on other things, like his new auctioneering hobby. If you want to be like Dan, learn about our savings and investment options at NavyFederal.org/save and invest. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
Bidder number 63.
Savings products insured by NCUA. Investment options are available through Navy Federal Investment Services and are not insured by NCUA.
CSX Transportation is an industry leader on the move. The railroad company has immediate openings for freight train conductors. Join the CSX team and start your paid-on-the-job training today, earning nearly $25 per hour with no degree required. If you're safety-focused with a passion for great service, you've got what it takes to move your career forward at CSX. Apply at csx.com/careers. That's csx.com/careers. CSX is an equal opportunity employer.
Well, I started my own restaurant because I love to cook, but that also means a lot of greasy pots and pans. And we can't waste time with endless sink changeovers. So we upgraded to Dawn Professional Pot and Pan.
Dawn Professional cleans 58% more pots and pans per sink than the leading competitor.
Less dish soap, fewer changeovers, and more time doing what we love.
Dawn Professional. It's clean. Upgraded. From P&G Professional.
It's football season again, which means it's football season again. And here at Frank's Red Hot, we've put together a completely exhaustive list of essentials that will bring everyone together on game day. Essential number 1, Frank's Red Hot. I mean, come on, people, that was a given. Number 2, wings. Like, just so many wings. Okay, it looks like that's it. There's not even a third thing on the page. Do I just say the first 2 essentials again, or is that weird? Nope, just Frank's and wings? Okay, that's okay. Yeah. Frank's Red Hot. I put that on everything.
I'm Terry Krupp of Laird's Tax and Accounting, serving this area's tax and accounting needs for over 80 years. If you have concerns about your tax return, we invite you to discover how we can make your tax filing experience easier. If you had a difficult experience in the past, our professional staff can provide the accurate return you want with maximum use of all legitimate deductions. Laird's Tax and Accounting is a trusted name and stands behind your return if the IRS calls. Contact us at 937-325-6571. Information at Laird'sTax.com.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well. Medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed. Don't put it off any longer. You know it's time. Time for a bathroom upgrade by Bath Creations. Bath Creations is a leader in bathroom renovations, providing the very best value in bath and shower remodeling, and proudly made in the USA. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful modern bathroom that's safe, comfortable, and affordable. Attention first responders, veterans, and active military. Save $500 off your purchase right now. Visit Poe Avenue in Dayton or online at mybathcreations.com. And upgrade today.
And now an important message from Exergen. A critical new FDA study proves that non-contact thermometers are not accurate. They also have inaccurate information on their labels regarding accuracy. New COVID strains are on the rise, and non-contact manufacturers are being irresponsible at a time when accuracy matters. Accurate temperature measurements are essential. Switch to Exergen because they are accurate and backed by over 100 clinical studies. Be sure, be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
It's Valentine's Day. Let your sweetheart know how much you love them by surprising them with Esther Price candies. It's the sweetest way to say be mine with their heart boxes of all varieties and sizes. Customize with your favorite chocolates or the traditional gold box of your sweetheart's favorites. Their delicious chocolate-covered strawberries are back for a limited time starting Friday through Valentine's Day at all locations. So stop in and get a box. If you are not able to get out and want to send your Valentine your love, shop online at EstherPrice.com.
QC Kinetics provided amazing pain relief for a former professional baseball player, and you have access to the same life-changing treatments as retired Braves pitcher Jose Alvarez.
I put a lot of stress and strain and work on my right arm, but my right elbow took most of the damage with 3 surgeries.
Arthritis developed, and the pain was unbearable.
It wasn't just pain when I was trying to play sports. It was anytime I was moving the right elbow. It was pretty excruciating at times.
That's when Jose discovered QC Kinetics and the regenerative treatments that help the body heal itself, restoring damaged tissue and providing relief with no surgery or downtime. Jose's message to the medical professionals at QC Kinetics:
my elbow is feeling outstanding. Where were you 10 years ago, for crying out loud?
QC Kinetics is right here. Call for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. QC Kinetics 937-936-0325.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
If you are looking to buy or sell your home, give Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty a call right here, right now. 937-572-7425, 572-7425. Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Buying or selling your home, give Brad a call today. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Which non-playoff team has the opportunity to be next year's Cincinnati Bengals, that worst to first? Now, again, I said non-playoff team. I meant to say the bottom of the barrel teams, like your last place in the division teams. And I don't mean like the Ravens, who are a 7-8 win team in the bottom. You know, I'm not talking about them. I mean, hell, even the Seahawks are a 7-8 win team. They're not in good shape, but that's, if the Seahawks make a couple moves, they're back in the Super Bowl next year. I don't think anyone's shocked, right, Kev?
Right.
Like the Bengals being in the Super Bowl, people were shocked. That really surprised people because, I mean, they're bottom of the barrel. No one thought, I mean, people thought, okay, you got your quarterback coming off of a season-ending injury in, week 11 last year. Probably needs that second full year to kind of get some chemistry back with, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Now you have Jamar Chase, Mixon. Defensive pieces, they got to get acclimated as well. They did it all in 17 weeks. So that's where we're at. But is there a team out there that is the Cincinnati Bengals of next year? We said the Jags. But as far as non-playoff team, Kev, if we bring everyone in, which team did you say? Which team do you think could win the Super Bowl next year that's not in the playoffs this year?
It's not in the playoffs this year. Oh, man, that's tough. I guess after I just spent a whole 5 minutes bashing them, I guess I would go with the Chargers, right?
I think so. I'm looking around. I mean, the Chargers, you're talking, the Giants, Washington, no. The Vikings, no. Yeah, no. No Falcons, no Panthers. Who didn't? The Seahawks are the only team that didn't make it out of the NFC West this year. So, no, I have to go with the Chargers as far as that's concerned. The Broncos, if they get Aaron Rodgers.
Right. That's what I was about to say.
That's the only other one.
Maybe the Ravens. You expect them to get back and get healthy and everything like that. And
I'll say Cleveland.
Yeah. Their expectations this year, what has really changed about that team?
They're more outside of quarterback. They're more round. They're actually, I don't know why I didn't say Cleveland, being the Browns homer I am. I look at Cleveland. They check off way more boxes as far as strengths than the Chargers do at this point, except quarterback. The Chargers definitely have a significantly better quarterback, but I mean, they have Joey Bosa. The Browns have Myles Garrett. Like, I just don't, I really don't look at that as a situation.
The basketball star.
Yeah, exactly. Celebrity all-star in Cleveland next week. But man, where are the Browns at cap space wise? They don't have a lot. I know they're kind of near the bottom as far as cap space is concerned. And what little that they do have, they're going to have to use a lot of that to re-sign a lot of guys. Well, I mean, they have about 27 million. The Steelers are about 32. So, but again, the Browns have money to work with. They can add one or two. But that's the thing. And I'm not being a homer here. Everyone last year, I don't think that anyone was wrong for saying that the Browns had Super Bowl expectations. You know, there's a lot of the Bengals will have Super Bowl expectations. A lot of teams will heading in if you're built properly. The Browns are built properly. They're not the strongest at quarterback. The Titans are considered a team that has Super Bowl expectations based on Julio Jones, A.J. Brown. But they also don't have a great quarterback. All right. The Browns don't have a great quarterback, but they have capable quarterbacks. And we've seen teams win it with quarterbacks not playing I mean, hell, Joe Burrow hasn't even playing that. I'm just joking. But he hasn't. But I mean, he's not Ryan Tannehill or Baker Mayfield. I get that. But yeah, Cleveland with that offensive line, with that run game, they're talking about going after Calvin Ridley. They're going to, of course, address wide receiver in the draft. I mean, they're going to spend money on a wide receiver this coming up offseason.
What would you prefer?
See the Browns.
What would you prefer that the Browns do? Draft a receiver or go ahead and try to trade for Calvin Ridley?
For one, I think they should do both. I mean, no, in all seriousness, I don't. That wide receiving core is bad. Even with Jarvis Landry, it's not very good. I mean, if you look at the weapons, I mean, hell, the Steelers have, I mean, whoever they have at quarterback next year, let's say it's Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo is going to play very, very well. Like, he's going to be a very good quarterback with the weapons that your Steelers have at wide receiver. Assuming Juju Smith-Schuster comes back, he could probably end up in Kansas City. I think he's kicking himself for not taking that Kansas City deal a year ago. But I think he came back to Pittsburgh, Kev, because he was going to get more targets.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely going to get a lot more targets. And you got to think about, like, his role on the team. Him having that separated shoulder or whatever situation was up with his shoulder against shoulder surgery, he's their third down receiver. Like, he's the guy that makes the tough catches across the middle and everything like that. Never had a chance for him to be on the same side of the field as Freiermuth. So when you have basically a big body tight end in Freiermuth and then a big slot receiver like Juju, you have to, one of them got to pick one. They never had that. He never had that. And they were basically relegated to throwing passes to Deontay Johnson, which he had a great season and everything like that. So he benefited from it. But I don't think that Juju ultimately ends up back with the Steelers. I think Juju basically tests his free agency and signs somewhere else this season. I think that they're going to move on from Juju because he's going to want more targets than he got the last year. Obviously, and the year before that, because both those two seasons he ended up real banged up, especially this year. So I think he's going to ultimately end up moving on.
Yeah, and people thought it was crazy that he turned down playing for the Ravens and the Chiefs and to go back to Pittsburgh. And I was like, no, it made sense at the time. I know you playing with the better quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Maybe you had I think people were expecting more of the Ravens offense if they were more healthy, of course. But he would have. You're playing with a quarterback that has question marks as far as being an efficient thrower. So you're having to count on Lamar taking that next step quarterback wise. So that's why I didn't think that was going to make sense for him. Sure, going to the Chiefs, you have a quarterback that's more than capable of getting you targets. But again, you're not going to be getting more looks than Travis Kelce. You're not going to be getting more looks than Hill. So I thought he had the most targets of anyone that the year before with Pittsburgh. It just made sense. Go get all those targets, go get all those looks, catches, and all that. Try to turn it into a net max deal the next year.
Yeah, you can't predict getting hurt.
So with all that, I say that's why Cleveland, you take a receiver in the draft, and you still go after a Calvin Ridley. You still go after another one. Even if you have Jarvis back next year, you still make those exact two moves. Because I think that defensively they figured it out by the end of the year. When the offense was playing well up to the halfway point, the defense was playing horrible. When they put 40 points up, I mean, they had 2 games this year where they scored more than 40 and lost both of those games. And then when the offense doesn't score anything, that's when the defense is holding everyone down. I mean, they lost to Pittsburgh, giving up 16 points. How does that? You give up 16 points and still lose the game because the offense was to play with. Baker's not great, but having no wide receivers doesn't help either. Like, let's just be real. Like, that doesn't help. And I thought the receiving core was better than what it actually was. So, not making excuses. They just weren't good. They just weren't good. So they have to upgrade there. And by the way, I'm not being a homer. Everyone's like, oh, it was only a matter of time before he brought up the Brett. No. If you look at the teams that didn't make the playoffs this year that have the best chance to win it next year, the Browns are bringing back that entire roster, and they have $30 million in cap space. So I don't think that is that crazy as far as that's concerned. Brian McCoy says, Cleveland, Cowboys, Super Bowl, who you rooting for? Cleveland and Cowboys. The Browns have a better chance to get into the Super Bowl than the Cowboys, and the Cowboys play in a crappy division, in a crappy conference on top of that. Going down this. So Brian Schwederman says the Vikings. They have similar weapons to the Bengals and an efficient web. Either way, that defense is a couple pieces away from raising eyebrows next season. The Vikings have been a couple pieces defensively for a while now. My biggest complaint about Cousins, who gets a lot of love, Browns fans wanted them to trade for. He can't win with Dalvin Cook. He can't win with Adam Thielen. He can't win with all these guys and Justin Jefferson. That's why I don't want him in Cleveland, who they don't have any wide receivers to begin with. I don't know. I think it's not a bad pick, Brian, mainly because they're also bringing O'Connell over, which is the offensive coordinator for the Rams. And at this point, look at the magic that is being spread across the NFL under the Sean McVay tree. So
he's only 38 and got a coaching tree.
Exactly. It's sprouting. Just little tiny leaves, but hey, it's sprouting nonetheless. TJ Brusher says the Bears, maybe.
Who are they going to get to coordinate the offense? That's what I'm worried about. Like,
whoever it is should have been the head coach to begin with. I don't know. But yeah.
I want to see who they get, what type of – it's so hard because we don't know these offensive coordinators until the season starts. We don't know how the offense looks until the season starts. We know the brand name offensive coordinator guys because they're always up for head coaching positions and everything like that. So, that's where I'm at with it. Like, who are you going to get? What guy out there are you going to get? What receivers coach that was in line to be a OC somewhere else that you bring to your team?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You pluck him away from them and everything like that. Who are you going to bring in? What type of offense was he helping coordinate with that team and everything like that? And that can give us some type of perspective of how their offense is going to look, how their offense is going to function, because we got to remember, every guy that comes from a tree, we'll use quotation marks, they take the offense that they coordinated or helped coordinate, and then they put their own spin on it. Zach Taylor isn't running the exact same offense that the Rams run. You know what I'm saying? It has a sprinkle of it. They don't use as many motions as the Rams. They don't use as many jet sweeps, where they're starting to do that with Chase now, but they don't run as many bunch sets as the Rams and everything like that. He has his own spin on that type of offense. So that's kind of like where I'm at with it. Whatever guy you're going to get, I want to see the offense that he came from to come to the Bears to see if it'll work with Chicago and Justin Fields.
518-1410, 518-1410. I know we have some callers on hold. We'll get to you guys coming up here in just a moment. But back to the Facebook feed as far as getting your reactions there. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. Your opinion can be heard there as well. Mark Smith said, Baker couldn't get the ball to OBJ. Didn't you watch the video? Mark, that's the thing. Like, people are trying to spit. Look, Baker's responsible for that. I'm not going to say that he had no responsibility there either. But Baker's proven he could play the position. Like, he couldn't get it to OBJ. Yeah, well, he got it to Higgins. He got it to Jarvis. He got it to every other damn receiver and tight end that they had on the roster when they made the playoffs last year. Clearly, there was issues with Baker's health this year. Clearly, there was issues within the locker room. There was a divide. Many believe that, they were more pro-OBJ than pro-Baker, and that is what it is. If Baker's not likable in the locker room, that's another indictment on him. But I'm not going to say that because Baker couldn't get it to OBJ that he can't play the position. He proved he could play the position. He got it to everyone else just fine. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as that's concerned. He got it to everyone else just fine. But you guys keep focusing on the fact that he couldn't get it to OBJ. And as I've said, in a non-trolling matter here, the numbers outside of touchdowns in Los Angeles, the same as when he was in Cleveland until the playoffs, where he's elevated his play. And even I've acknowledged that. But OBJ, yes, he's playing better in the playoffs. But guess what? He's playing better in the playoffs. He's playing better. So it's not, though, that Stafford is getting him the ball. Stafford's better at getting him the ball than Baker was. Stafford's a way better quarterback. But at the same time, what balls he was getting in Cleveland, he wasn't catching. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Ann Anderson says the Bengals 35-24. NBA basketball, unless the Cavs did something, who cares? Done with football and basketball. Give me Dragons baseball. And that's starting on time, right? Right? Like, I mean, that might be our only baseball for a while. I know Rob Manfred came out, and let me read this response from Rob Manfred. We're going to stay on this football conversation, get into the calls in a moment, but I found his response interesting today. He was asked about whether the season would start on time. He said, people thought, oh, he believes it's going to start on time. Rob Manfred's response, Kev, was that he is considered an optimist and that he's optimistic that they'll get the full regular season in. That doesn't mean you're starting on time. That just means you'll get the same amount of games of regular season in. You'll just push it back a little. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not an answer. And I'm about to sneeze, and I don't know when, and it's driving me nuts, and I don't know how to keep it from happening.
Charlie,
are we good? Purple. What are some of the tricks people use to keep from sneezing? You know,
purple. I've never heard that before.
I would say purple. When I was in school, in college, we had a professor that said every time you get a sneeze, it's a psychology professor. She'd just yell purple, and it'd work every damn time. I think it's a coincidence, but it is what it is.
I've never heard that before.
Well, guess what?
You didn't sneeze.
I don't have to sneeze. So
it's amazing.
Purple. So there you go. 518-1410. 518-1410. He says, touch your nose tip. No, I say I'm not going to take your guys' advice because then you're going to just be having me do stupid things for no damn reason. For no reason, right? Like, but I might take your advice coming up here a little bit. Hold on. There was one more I wanted to read before we went on. But Brian, the Vikings one's not bad. The Bears I could see. The Vikings, I would pick the Vikings over the Bears as far as who I believe would have a better chance of getting to the Super Bowl next year. Jake Whiting says the Colts. Mm-hmm. So
a lot of disgruntled ownership out there with their quarterback situation. Gave up a lot for him and wet the bed that very last game of the season. Well, those last two games of the season. Because they lost to the Raiders and then lost to Jacksonville. They could have clinched the playoff spot with one of those wins.
518-1410. Kev, who we got?
Charlie.
Oh, before Charlie, you're going to have to wait for one more minute because I want Charlie to hear this because I remember during the draft last year.
Yes.
How could anyone forget? I laughed at that. Remember that 30 for 30? It was an award-winning 30 for 30. You'll hear in the promo that it was an award-winning 30 for 30. It won awards.
Big time.
It went viral. I won awards, folks. Check it out. More egg on my face, more of me eating crow here on a Thursday. But this was the ESPN 30 for 30 that I produced last year after the draft. The Cincinnati Bengals, we just can't have nice things.
If the Cincinnati Bengals don't draft an offensive tackle, they should be disbanded and revoked from the NFL. They got to keep this guy up and healthy. It was irresponsible what they did last year.
What if I told you that the Cincinnati Bengals learned nothing from Joe Burrow's season-ending injury in 2020?
Now Burrow, oh boy, clutching his left leg. Oh no.
With the number 5 pick overall and the best tackle available, the Bengals pick seems pretty obvious.
I don't think that there's even a question. When you have a shot at Penei Sewell, you take him and you keep your quarterback upright so that he doesn't get murdered every single Sunday.
But if Penei Sewell was sitting there, Joe Burrow's season ended because you couldn't protect him, and Joe was playing really well. To me, absolutely, it's a no-brainer. Protect your asset.
What if I told you that the Cincinnati Bengals failed Joe Burrow once again?
The Cincinnati Bengals select Jamar Chase.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
What a bunch of, hey, easy now. Easy. Voice guy, come on, stick to the script. Just read the script.
My bad. But seriously, what's wrong with them? Fix the O-line, man. Anyways, it's Justin Kinner's latest award-winning 30 for 30. This is why we just can't have nice things. The embarrassing and disappointing tale of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Hold the applause. Kev, stop clapping. It's hard for the listeners to hear me with all the clapping. Hear the confidence in my voice, by the way.
Man.
Seriously, did you hear that?
Yeah.
So arrogant, so cocky.
So Kenner.
Oh, I thought I was so smart. I was like, oh, these Bengals fans are so stupid. Did you hear it in my voice? You hear the happiness? I was on cloud nine. Kev, my Browns had just come off of a playoff win at Pittsburgh, almost beating the Chiefs to get to the AFC title game. I didn't think it can get any better other than heading into next season to actually get to the Super Bowl. And the Bengals are horrible. I'm like, oh, man, this is great. The Browns are winning while the Bengals stay bad. They'll ruin Joe Burrow. Oh, I'll get to troll guys like Charlie every day. It's going to be so fun. And in the words of Yeah, Michael Scott. Oh, how the turntables. I mean, it's just bad. But you said this is Charlie, right?
This is.
All right, Charlie. How are you, sir? Who day? Did he hang up?
Charlie?
Justin.
Oh, there.
Oh, there he is. We got to speak up.
Okay, so did you just pick the Browns to be the non-playoff team to go to the Super Bowl next year?
Technically, if I had to pick, I'm going to pick the Chargers. But I said that I hadn't mentioned the Browns. I was like, oh, I kind of can't believe I forgot about my own team, the Browns. But no, I'll pick the Chargers.
Okay, I was about to say because sometimes,
to be fair, I think that the Browns have a more well-rounded roster than the Chargers, and again, this is how good Joe Burrow is and the receivers are, but I also think the Browns have a better, well-rounded roster than the Bengals. Doesn't mean that they're better at this point, but I obviously quarterback. I mean, Joe Burrow's been able to close the gap on the deficiencies to where Baker kind of makes some of those deficiencies worse for his team. So that's what I mean. But I think the Browns have almost a more well-rounded roster than even the Bengals who are in the Super Bowl right now. But again, Joe Burrow elevates so many guys around him that closes the gap. Same thing with Justin Herbert. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Chargers.
I just think it's crazy that like people get on me for like some of my takes about the Bengals, and you're on here saying that the Browns currently have a better roster than the Bengals.
I said overall, and I'm not saying that in a trolling way. I really do think that. I mean, between the complete...
You have one thing better than the Bengals. You have one. You have a better offensive line. I will give you that. Everything else is either equal or we are better. Now, you have a bigger star. Myles Garrett is a bigger name than our guys, but your D-line's not better than ours.
That's not true.
Your linebackers aren't better than ours. Your DBs aren't better than ours.
DBs are better outside of Bates. You have it with Bates.
Overall, our defense is better than yours.
Okay.
Offensively,
I have no interest in getting into a peeing contest with you about this right now.
Well, because you start this crap.
I didn't start it. I honestly, I forgot about
3 days before the Super Bowl.
Huh?
It's 3 days before the Super Bowl, and you're like, I think the Browns are going next year.
No,
they got a way better team.
We're talking about the importance of the storyline that is the Bengals. How no one thought they'd be there a year ago. I was poking fun at how I just literally went in on them a year ago, and I was dead wrong about them. And then saying, okay, which team could be that Bengals team next year? How is that me? Like, I don't get it. Why are you getting all up in your feelings, Charlie?
The Chargers are the obvious answer. They have everything that the Browns don't have.
Okay.
They have this,
and you know what?
They beat the Bengals and the Browns, right?
That's your opinion, and I respect that. I respect your opinion.
Like that's like a realistic answer. The Chargers.
And I gave that, moron. What do you want me to say?
But then you came back. You came back and said that the Browns have a better roster.
I came back and said I forgot about. I do think that the Browns have a better overall roster, but the Baker Mayfield.
What are you talking about?
Okay, but it's your opinion, and I respect your opinion. If you can't respect mine, then that's totally fine. This is more about you than me. I'm a better person than you.
You have Myles Garrett.
What's that?
You have two awesome players. You have Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett, and you have a good offensive line. That's it. That's all the Browns have.
I respect your opinion. Thank you for sharing.
You're just going to name about. Why are you even here?
Charlie, man, your team is playing in the bowl, man.
And you're pissed because the second team I picked of who I think could win it next year. I mean, my God, it's okay, Charlie. I'm not anti-Bengals right now.
I just think it's crazy that you brought that up. I just think that is crazy. Like sometimes,
that's your opinion. I respect your opinion. Thanks for sharing.
They're not good.
Jake Overholt says, "Stop taking this clown's call. My ears bleed every time he calls in." Man,
he's a Browns fan.
I like. Okay, let me find a Bengals fan. Any Bengals fans? Well, hold on. I don't know who some of these people are. Ron Go Blue says, "Charlie, what the hell? I don't think he believes himself when he says these things."
Yeah, I do.
That's concerning. But that's your opinion, and I respect your opinion.
I'm a loyal fan. I was a fan of Marvin Lewis. I'm a fan of Zach Taylor. I like my team, man. And I think the Bengals, I've thought this all year, that the Bengals were better than the Browns.
The team you lost to twice this year, just so we're all on the same page, right?
Congratulations.
I'm not asking for anything. I wanted to make sure. You're saying really weird things like that.
You can turn the tables.
Look, the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. I actually picked them to win. Can we just focus on that? You're pissed off about my hypothetical who could win it next year. I would really hate to see if you were mad.
Because this is what you do.
What do I do? If you know what I do, then why do you let me do to you what you think I'm doing to you if you would have better self-control?
I've not heard Kev Nash say one freaking word about a team that has a better chance of going to the Super Bowl than your team. And he knows it.
That's because Kevin has his opinion, and I respect his opinion, and I have mine, and I love mine, and I respect your opinion, Charlie. Thanks for sharing.
If the Steelers get any kind of a reasonable quarterback, they're infinitely better than the Browns, who they couldn't beat anyway.
That's your opinion, and thanks for sharing. I respect your opinion.
I'm just saying, that's nuts, man. Of all the teams, the freaking Browns, that's who you pick.
I get it. It's a sore spot with you. I get it. It's okay. I forgive you for
You guys got a lot of work to do. That's a lot. That was a huge step.
You got a fan, though. TJ Brescher says the Charlie show sounds better than the JK show. I respect your opinion. Thanks for sharing.
Well, I'm going to let you guys go, but man, come on, Justin. Get it together.
Okay.
Day.
Oh my!
You know what? You know what?
What's up?
That's his opinion, and I respect his opinion.
Why are you?
I'm just going to start saying, exactly. I'm going to start just saying the same thing from.
Why are you even here? You're ridiculous. You're rude, and you're horrible.
I got to work on that. But everyone has opinions, and I respect them. That therapy is working.
There you go.
It is working.
Proud of you.
Do the Rams have a song?
I'm sure we can find out.
Let's find out. I'm tired of that song. Hour 2 next.
Run, pass, or gooch. And defensively, he's rough, tough. Cincinnati Bengals. That's the team we're gonna cheer to victory. Touchdown Bengals. Get some points up on that board and win a game for Cincinnati.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make $200 to $300 this year.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GEAR for 25 cents a gallon or more cash back on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code GEAR to earn 25 cents a gallon or more on your first tank. That's code GEAR.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but thought it would be too difficult? Then try Babbel. Babbel starts by teaching you words and phrases that gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations. So in 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking a new language in a few weeks. Babbel is built around real life. It teaches you practical conversations that you will actually use. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com today. That's BABBEL.com.
Mucinex is the #1 OTC brand doctors trust for themselves and their families. So with cold and flu season upon us, why would you use anything else? Available at CVS.
Now is the time to experience the Brookhaven difference. Don't miss your chance to live in an active retirement community, make new friends, and enjoy chef-cooked meals. 1 month free when you schedule your tour by February 28th by calling 937-833-4006. At Brookhaven, we have everything you need to live an active, independent lifestyle. Call 833-4006 today. Brookhaven, expect to be impressed.
And now a small business setback is assessed by a beloved family pediatrician.
Oh, hey, Tiger. Big scary tree branch give your work truck a boo-boo? Yeah. Wow. See this thing on my phone here? It's the Progressive mobile app. Just push that little button there and report your claim. Attaboy.
When owning a small business gets painful, Progressive Commercial is here to make it all better. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
What's this? Candy drawer? Who wants a lollipop?
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions. Photo claims not available in all states or situations.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. Viagra is now available in generic form at 4hims.com. The same active ingredient as Viagra, but 90% cheaper. Just go to 4hims.com and a healthcare provider will prescribe your ED medication if appropriate and send it to your door. It's easy, private, and super affordable. And that's really good news. Get your first online visit free when you go to 4hims.com/joy. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Germain Honda Beaver Creek is your local Honda dealer. For a limited time, get 0.9% financing on the 22 Honda Pilot, Honda Passport, and Honda HRV, and as low as 1.9% financing on all other 22 Hondas while supplies last. We can get the Honda you're looking for. We are taking deposits on current scheduled in-build 22 Hondas every day. See me, sales manager Jason High, for all the details. We're located Route 35, just east of 675 between Xenia and Beaver Creek. Germain Honda Beaver Creek, the right car, the right price, the right way. I hope to see you soon.
Hey team, it's a full house. We got to pick up the pace.
At Hank's Restaurant, the line goes around the block.
Is this for 12? Okay, I need the truffle oil drizzle.
What he needs is another line cook.
Oh man, are the quail breasts still in the sous vide? Dave, can you keep an eye on that, please?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The Flower Man here with the Valentine's Day tradition. A free vase and a dozen roses, only $12.99 at the Flower Man. This is not a dream. A dozen roses and a free vase, only $12.99. Thank you, Flower Man. I got myself excited. Go to flowermanflowers.com. That's flowermanflowers.com. It's a tradition.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Shop the President's Day sale at Mattress Firm and save up to $500. Plus, you can get an adjustable base. That's a $499 value for free with select purchases.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM, 518-1410. If you have any crazy takes that can top Charlie's. But that was impressive. And I make a living off of making horrible takes daily. And he just takes it up to a whole new level. But yeah, so Todd Ham says the Bengals don't even have two players on their offensive line that can block Aaron Donald. Joe Burrow's going to have a long day. I think that's the case even with quarterbacks who do have guys that block for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much different Joe Burrow's life is going to be against Aaron Donald than that of Patrick Mahomes with an offensive line. But I know what he's referencing. Look, that's a given. That's been the main talking points all week about this matchup is that they're actually very evenly matched from a skill position standpoint. But that offensive line is going to be the big difference maker. That's why I said 2 weeks out. 2 weeks out. 2 weeks between the AFC, NFC title games and the Super Bowl. It's like, my God, how many? It's a good thing it's just another week. Can you imagine the college football playoff situation of 3 weeks if the Bengals have a bad offensive line? I mean, I know I made a whole summer and football season of it, but my God. Ron Broadstock says, here we go. They haven't had two players who could block any formidable pass rusher all year, but here we are. I agree with that. That's the other reason we're like, I'm not saying it's a lazy argument, because it's not, because it definitely will impact this game at some point. Even Kev, like, I don't care if the Bengals offensive line doesn't give up a sack for 3.5 quarters. If the game's on the line and Aaron Donald just goes crashing through that paper thin line and just smears Joe Burrow into the ground, that has an impact on the game, and they end up losing, because like, it will have an impact at some point. But like I said, Aaron Donald has an impact on every game.
Yeah.
If the MVP was not such a quarterback-driven award, he's your MVP. I mean, it's that simple. So I'm not going to – yes, the Bengals' offensive line is bad, but at the same time, to say that that's why they're not going to stop Aaron Donald, a good offensive line is not going to stop him. But I see your point. Alex Sheets says, a crazy take would have been last year saying the Bengals would be in the Super Bowl. I agree with that. The Bengals being in the Super Bowl this year doesn't prove anybody wrong last year. Like, sometimes crazy things happen to this point. Like, for instance, when you think about when Loyola made it to the Final Four, do you think anyone in that program was sitting there saying, man, we're going to make it to the Final Four this year? No, no one does. Even Obi Toppin's year at UD, that was one hell of a regular season, by the way. I'm not taking anything away from that. I think Dayton knew they were going to be good that year.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew they were going to be that good. I don't think they knew that they were going to be almost beating Kansas in overtime good, and although they did beat Kansas this year. But at that time, like, you know what I'm saying? No one thought that they'd be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Dayton fans couldn't go back and say, see, I told you guys we were legitimate. There's, I told you we were going to be good. And then there's, I told you we were going to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA. You don't get to do that, Bengals fans. You don't. You get to enjoy this. You get to be excited. You get to say, ha ha, I bet you guys look kind of stupid right now. But what you don't get to say is that you saw this coming, that you knew it was going to happen, and that we're dumb for doubting the Bengals. No one's dumb for doubting the Bengals. The Bengals had given us and even you fans zero reason to feel confident about the direction of the franchise. But they're here. And it's now what they do with this moving forward that you get, next year if they get back, and I'm saying that they're not going to get back next year, and I don't think they'll get back next year. Now you could say, okay, you were dead wrong. Yeah. But I don't feel like I don't know. It is what it is. But like, I'm laughing at the arrogance of the fan base at times, because I'm like, you get to be excited. I don't think, am I wrong in this, Kev? You get to be excited. I don't think you get to do the ha, I told you so thing. Cause no.
Well, to you, they do.
Well, fine. But I bring that on myself. But this is more of a reaction to when I see the fans going at it between themselves. And I'm like, hold on, Bengals fans, you need to cool it. They're starting to, they're really feeling themselves. They're bringing up the Cowboys not winning Super Bowls in decades. They're making fun of the Browns having to reference, way, way back in history with the same way the Bengals did it. The Bengals before this year used to say, yeah, well, we haven't won a playoff game in 30 years, but we've at least been to 2 Super Bowls. So you guys stop. Like, you guys know exactly where you were a year ago at this time. So please stop. Be excited, but stop being fools. Stop being arrogant. Stop acting like you knew this was going to come, because you didn't.
What fan base ain't arrogant?
They're all dumb then. I'm just saying. They all have a fan base, but every fan base deserves to be called out. When Pittsburgh fans act this way, it's obnoxious, but it's one of those where you have a right to be. Like, Kev, you as a Steelers fan, and you're not annoying, which is annoying in itself, you have the right to be cocky and arrogant. Like, that's the thing. Buckeye fans are obnoxious, but they have the right to be cocky and arrogant. Dayton Flyers fans, they're obnoxious and annoying as hell. But you have the right to be obnoxious and annoying as hell. That's the thing. Most fan bases that are annoying and obnoxious as hell, they have a history of success and a tradition of winning. The Bengals are in the Super Bowl, and that's not really what I wanted this to turn into, but I'm reading these responses, and I'm just like, I don't understand you guys. Like, you guys are doing this very arrogant thing that I find very annoying, the same way you find me annoying with my approach to things. It's the same thing you accuse me of with the Browns. Oh, the Browns have 1 winning season, and look how annoying Kenner is. Well, what do you call what you're doing? I just want to know. It's okay to just say, hey, that's the nature of it, but admit that. But what you don't get to do is say, ha, I told you so. Because no, I'm not going to allow that to be part of the case, because I'm seeing a lot of that on Twitter. I'm seeing a lot of that on Facebook. That's where I'm getting annoyed. Be excited.
What did Keyshawn tell us about social media yesterday?
But Keyshawn's more disciplined than I am. Keyshawn's more disciplined than I am, So Jake Whiting says, what are you going to do if the Bengals win the Super Bowl? What are you going to do if the Bengals win the Super Bowl?
Brother.
Me and you aren't that much different. We both headed into this season saying the Bengals aren't winning a Super Bowl this year. Jake, we're the same. Me and Bengals fans, we're all the same because none of us expected this year. Be excited. Don't be cocky. Because in a year, like I was cocky a year ago, a year from now, you could be sitting at home too, watching the actual good teams play, right? Like that's what I have to do this year. So I'm just saying, learn from my mistakes.
You're here to teach.
I'm here to teach. A lot of wisdom between these ears. Just saying. It is what it is. Ryan Nicewander says, after the Bengals beat the Ravens the first time, a lot of us thought that they can play like this. They can make the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl, but that was still a very long shot. Fair enough. But see, that's a normal, respectful answer of, hey, after they started winning a couple games against some of their, when they showed they weren't afraid of the Steelers, when they showed that they weren't afraid of the Ravens, they haven't been able to crack the Browns yet, but they were able to crack a lot of good teams. That's a fair assessment to say that throughout the year, my confidence as a fan started building a little bit. But what you don't get to do is the Bengals were very average heading into that Niners game. They lost that Niners game and then became elite from that point on. So it kind of hit late in the season. You can't do the whole I told you so thing.
You won't allow it.
I won't allow it. Like that's the one thing. Be excited. Say, ha, Kenner, blah, blah, but you don't get to say you were wrong because I was wrong about Jamar Chase. But, it is what it is. But 518-1410 to the Facebook feed we go. Ron Brodsek says, so just run plays opposite side of him. What are we talking about here? I guess I'm coming in late in the conversation because you guys are arguing about Aaron Donald still as far as that's concerned. But Jake goes on to say, he asked about what I would do if they win the Super Bowl. But then he countered it, Kev, with, no, I'm saying it's going to get worse if the Bengals win the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. Oh, yeah, definitely. But then my response will be the same. My response will actually be, congratulations. It's actually really freaking cool. Your team won the Super Bowl. Jealous of that? Yes. I'm jealous of every team every year. I'm not jealous of the Bengals organization per se. If the Rams win it, guess what? I'm jealous of the Rams. Just like Bengals fans, if the Rams win it, you'll be jealous of the Rams. You can't say you're not because you should be. Anytime someone has something that you want and that you feel you deserve to, you're jealous. Everyone, right? Like the word jealousy always has like such a negative connotation. I have no clue why. Like we all want things that other people have. I have no clue why we like scold people for that. I'm not like Joe Burrow where I have these little boring antidotes about how you should live your life. What did he tell the kids the other day? You should just work hard, and let your actions on the field do the talking. And I'm like, God dang it, dude. Like, really? And then you guys lose your mind. You're like, oh, he's such a leader. Did you hear what he said? When they asked him to impart wisdom on the younger fans of how they should approach their careers, work hard and let your actions do the talking for you. I'm like, what? Like, that's like the Hulk Hogan thing. Like, something, brother. Like, the vitamins. Right? Like, we got take your vitamins, get your sleep, work hard. Like, I mean, my God, at least Hulk Hogan sounded cool when he said it, but like Joe Burrow. And by the way, and Kev, you should have a problem with Joe Burrow. You're the one that's always saying today's day and age, the kids should record themselves in social media. They're confident in themselves. You're all for it.
Yeah.
Can you believe the nerve of Joe Burrow telling these kids not to post it on social media? That's where they live. Who is he? He's like Governor DeWine, always telling people what to do.
I'm not touching that. I'm not touching that at all. At all.
Jake Wadding says the mocking of us about Burrow is spot on, and that's me to a T, and I have no shame. Yeah, Jake's like, oh, I love you, Joey B. Literally, I'll see a picture of Joey B smiling, and he shares it, says, I love you, Joey B. I'm like, Jake. Aye. All right, 518-1410. Gary Toole says, Kenner would respect what Joe said if he said it in a TV commercial. Okay.
Progressive.
I'm just saying.
Progressive.
At home with Baker Mayfield. Got it. Okay. Lots of commercials. By the way, how Trevor Lawrence doesn't get made fun of for that very creepy Subway commercial he does. Have you seen the creepy one?
Oh, the hair one?
Yes. It's weird. It makes me uncomfortable, and it makes me not want to go to Subway. Seriously. I'll take the worst at home with Baker Mayfield progressive commercials or the Hulu has live sports or whatever, the one with the creepy like head just floating. I'll take all those over that damn Trevor Lawrence creepy, seductive, weird staring at the camera, his hair blowing in the air. Very weird.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a Head and Shoulders deal. Like,
I don't know.
Like that's where
I
you
just
would
felt
imagine.
violated. I was watching that. I just felt uncomfortable. I was like, oh, God, I'm never going to Subway again. Like that's the opposite of what you want commercials to do for you. But who we got, Kev?
We got Jack, line 2.
Jack, how are you, sir?
I got mixed emotions about this weekend.
About what? About what do you mean?
Well, I don't want Odell to get a Super Bowl ring.
Okay.
I love Joe Burrows, but I don't think there's any way that they can hold the Rams defense like they did against Kansas City. So
and there are some things, like, honestly, I'm gonna be serious here. Like, the Browns are bad this year, but they always seem to have Cincinnati's number. It's a matchup thing. There's something about that matchup that doesn't favor Cincinnati. There's always that team that always gives you fits. Like Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they're better than the Niners, but that matchup with the Niners, they just can't seem to overcome that. You know what I mean? Like the Rams struggle, or the Packers struggle against the Niners, and that caught up with them. There's just certain teams that you struggle beating, regardless of how much talent you have, and that could be what the Bengals have kind of developed here with the Chiefs, where, you know what I mean? Like back-to-back wins within a couple weeks of one another is pretty dang impressive. It could be a matchup thing. Like, I don't think that the Bengals overall are better than the Kansas City Chiefs, but they were better on the 2 days they played this year. And, the Bengals could be hoisting that trophy up. But I know what you're saying. To have your last game be shutting down Patrick Mahomes for the second time this season, and to all of a sudden expect to do it again against another explosive offense, it's kind of hard to predict, but I mean, if they have any chance of doing it, they have to slow him down for at least a half or a quarter if they want a chance at this game.
Well, and I know that you've heard it a bunch too. These Bengal fans now think, hey, how many Super Bowls have you been to? Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard. And what people don't realize, the Browns were right there. I mean, 4 games with less than 5 points. I mean, even with a hurt quarterback. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I mean, the injuries, Jack, I've been trying to tell him.
Well, yeah, I know. But I always enjoy talking to you. And I'll tell you something about UD basketball.
Okay.
I think that Holmes is farther along than Opie, but he's got some moves around the basket
at this stage,
at this juncture. I mean, you think back of Opie, he had like that redshirt year, and then he was okay his sophomore year, and then he just shined. Now, Holmes doesn't have the aerial ability of Opie, but he's got more to bring because he's a blocker and he's a team player.
No, and look, and Jack, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. I appreciate you putting the Bengals fans in their place. You're right. Baker was hurt. That's why the Browns aren't in the playoffs, and they're not in the Super Bowl now. But no, the Obi thing is interesting. Look, I think he's right. I don't think Holmes will not be better at UD than what Obi was. But to be fair, I think that's a legacy that's going to be hard to top. I mean, what Obi did was that's something that I don't care how good you are. There's going to be a lot of good players between now and that next Obi type player that comes. I'd be very surprised if Duran raises his game to that level. Wouldn't complain. I don't think anybody would. Kid's very good. But to Jack's point, probably more developed at this stage of his career than what Obi was at that age. But you know what? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. But you're right. Duran Holmes is fantastic, and he's so dang young. And again, this team right now, all the UD fans I talk to, they're enjoying this season. We'd love to see what they can do to kind of close it out, get into the conference tournament. But everything is about creating momentum heading into next year. Everyone is all jacked up about what, no pun intended for the last caller, jacked up about what to expect next season. But no, and by the way, that's not fair to put that on Holmes.
That's what I was about to say.
That's not fair. That's not fair to anybody right now. But, and yeah. And by the way, he talked about he doesn't have the aerial ability of Obi Toppin. I don't really care about the aerial ability.
I don't know too many people that do.
For instance, I always said this about Zach LaVine in the NBA for the longest time, Kev, that I just wasn't impressed. Like, he's elevated. He's now a star. But I thought he was overrated as hell at the beginning, and I kept saying it was Zach LaVine's dunking ability that made him relevant when he wasn't very good. Like Blake Griffin was very good and could dunk early in his career, and that's what made him so dang exciting. I didn't find LaVine was a glorified role player, but because he could dunk and jump through the ceiling, he was always, everyone's like, oh, look at all these highlights. He must be really good. Then you look at the stats, and it was just like, it was a little underwhelming, but not bad for a role player. Now he's a legitimate star, right? Like, that's what's crazy to see a guy in the NBA make that kind of leap, no pun intended. But that was, Obi, if you take the dunks away, I don't think he wins player of the year. If Obi Toppin at UD that year, Kev, if every point he had stayed the same, but it was just layups, I don't think he wins player of the year that year. And that's not a shot at Obi. That's just the reality of it. Am I wrong in saying that? If every stat stays the same, every block, every steal, every point, every shot, every three, just replace every dunk with the layup, does Obi Toppin win National Player of the Year that year? I personally don't think so, and that's not a shot at him. I just think that
same record,
everything's the same. I don't know if he gets
so just basically taking them back to the days when then Lou Alcindor played. Because, dunking was outlawed when Lou Alcindor was in college. Yes, also consider the Iowa kid. What was everybody? Luke Garza. Was everybody else allowed to dunk, or just Obi not allowed to dunk?
No, I just mean Obi was very, very good, but it was because the way he dunked, it was just different than everybody else. Like this, I swear to you, I know
style matters.
Style matters.
Yeah. Definitely does matter.
Garza's stats were pretty damn even, and everyone, the Big Ten, like usual, was stacked that year, and everyone was arguing that Garza should have got Player of the Year over Obi because the conference he played in. So that was my argument. Not that Obi wasn't good. My God, he's good, and he's even really good in the NBA. But my point is that I think if you replace every dunk that Obi had in his career, or at least just that 2020 season, I don't know if he is named Player of the Year that year. If it's just all layups, if he catches even in transition, he gets the ball and it's just a nice little layup in transition, I don't think he wins Player of the Year. I think he's in the conversation. I think Garza would have kind of squeaked past him. Again, just to put this disclaimer out because I have to, because I rub people the wrong way. I'm not hating on Obi. It's just kind of where I'm at as far as that. Like if you could do it with flair, by the way, that's how Obi got people's attention, is by the between the legs dunks and just the highlight dunks and everything he did. That's what got the eyes on him.
Absolutely. Style matters. I mean, when Allen Iverson was at Georgetown, nobody's seen somebody perform the crossover that he performed in collegiate basketball. You know what I'm saying? Like they seen the Kenny Andersons, they seen the Isaiah Thomases back in Indiana back in the day, but they never seen it on that level where he basically carried the ball, but he did it so quick that they couldn't call carry. Like nobody saw the street basketball element that Allen Iverson brought to college basketball and then to the NBA. So style definitely matters. Style, bringing something new, things people haven't seen before, that definitely matters.
All right, today's the trade deadline. And we only have a few more minutes here before we have to get to some of these interviews that we have lined up. But Porzingis got traded today for Dinwiddie.
Yes, sir. I like Spencer Dinwiddie.
I love what the Cavs did throughout the week, of course, and being able to add the pieces that they did, LeVert, without having to get rid of Jared Allen, without having to get rid of any big name on their roster. Mm-hmm. They were able to acquire another huge name. Out of the East, there's going to be favorites to win it. Like the Nets are the favorite still, especially going and get Ben Simmons in the big trade today, obviously for James Harden. I still think the Cavs have the Cavs could get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Cavs could easily get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they match up with, are they better than the Bucks? No, but I don't think the gap is that big between them and the Bucks. I think the Bucks would be the favorite, should be the favorite. But I think they're the fourth best team in the East. I'm not sure where they stand standings wise right now.
I think they're third.
I think they could easily get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if, the Nets aren't playing well, or if it is the Bucks, that's a legitimate series. I can go 7. I can't believe I'm saying the Cavs have a legitimate shot as long as they stay healthy in the second half. And if they can get Colin Sexton back, how cool would that be? But
they're right there. They're right there. There's a lot of teams like jam-packed at the top 4 spots in the East, especially, with the Nets. And Kevin Durant's hurt again. Kyrie can only play road games. Now they just shipped off James Harden. Now they're bringing in a bunch of new pieces. It's about 30 games left in the regular season and everything like that. Will that be able to mesh? I think that the Bucks are still in the catbird seat because they still have their roster together. They still have Giannis. They still have Chris Middleton, the go-to guys on their team. They're just waiting for Lopez to get back. Lopez comes back. That's basically the same team that won the NBA championship last last year. So I would go with the Bucks in the East. But the thing about the Cleveland Cavaliers is, last couple years, they've been horrible defensively. Terrible. When you add two big guys like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, who can guard on the pick and roll and can guard in the paint, that takes your defense to the next level. And now that Garland is playing at this level, he's developed over these years, and now his stars are rising, and he's going to be an all-star this year and everything like that. Them adding Charis LeVert from Columbus, Ohio, by way of that team up north, it gives them more firepower off the bench and potentially a starter in the lineup and everything like that. And can't forget about Kevin Love, potentially the sixth man of the year. The things that Cleveland Cavaliers are doing. You talk about nobody saw the Cincinnati Bengals making the Super Bowl. Nobody saw the Cleveland Cavaliers being the top 4 seed in the East.
Well, the Cavs are very similar to the Bengals, the NBA version, because it's all homegrown. Yeah. Actually, no, the Cavs are more homegrown than the Bengals. I keep forgetting. We want to believe that about the Bengals, and they've done nothing wrong. That's the only way to win in the NFL. You have to draft well, but you can't buy a Super Bowl and you can't draft a Super Bowl alone. You have to find a balance.
Yeah.
So the Bengals have done it perfectly. The Cavs are doing this all through the draft, and they just acquired this trade. So it's like acquired LeVert through the trade, but they're killing it.
Yeah.
Like in the NBA, this is what they're doing doesn't happen in the NBA anymore. Like this is the most organic team in the NBA right now. In Milwaukee, I guess, but I think the reason people still don't give them too much credit for last year's title was because of all the injuries and everything that happened. I know you kind of overlook a lot of those things, but national perception and the majority of fans like me are like, I'm acknowledging you're good, but I also can acknowledge that if Anthony Davis doesn't go down last year, the Lakers are at least beating the Suns, get in advance. And I don't think they beat the Lakers if they get to the finals. I don't think if Kawhi Leonard is playing the whole time that they're beating them the whole time. But again, luck plays a part in every run. Luck has played a part in the Rams getting to the Super Bowl, having to hold off that comeback from the Bucks. The Bengals have definitely had luck on their side. That's not a shot. That's reality. If you're fortunate to stay healthy all year, that's luck. I don't care what anybody says. That's luck. And that's kind of why both teams are where they're at right now. But yeah, the trade deadline delivered. Do you like that? People are making such a big deal about this Harden deal and this, and Simmons.
Huge.
I think it's a win-win for both.
Huge for both. For both. James Harden, obviously, Daryl Morey used to be the GM with the Rockets. He loves him. They love each other. They wanted to be together again. Now you potentially have the best pick and roll in the NBA with James Harden and Embiid. But then you flip it to the Nets side. Okay, what do we lack? We lack a wing defender. Our best wing defender is Kevin Durant. But guess who else Kevin Durant is? He's our best rim defender as well. So he can't do both. Like, he's going to have to pick something to do. I can't guard the rim and the scorer on the wing. So what do? We get the best wing defender potentially in the league. And Ben Simmons isn't going to be responsible for doing what? Shooting. So, hey, KD, score the ball all you want. Kyrie, score the ball all you want when you play. I'll do everything else. I'll do all the dirty work. I'll rebound. I'll run the floor. I'll finish around the rim. I'll play great defense. So I think it's a win-win for both. I only pray to the basketball gods that they play in the playoffs. I might go to Philly for that. I might go see my aunt up in New York and stay at her house to go to Brooklyn for one of those matchups, because that is going to be prime time TV. And people that have not been watching the association this year, it's been physical, it's been frisky, dudes have been getting into fights. So people that grew up in the 90s watching basketball saying, oh man, this era, these dudes, they all kiss and hug and all they do is love each other. You ain't been watching this year, because dudes have been getting into it a ton. And not just the older guard, the younger dudes are getting into it with each other too. So this season's been awesome. Trade deadline's been crazy. The Lakers didn't make any moves, to nobody's surprise, because nobody wants Russell Westbrook's crazy contract and all those turnovers. You know, he has the same amount of made shots as turnovers this month.
He made that many shots?
14 of them. 14, a whole whopping 14.
He made that many shots. That's impressive as far as that goes. But all right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We'll step away for a few moments, reading some of your responses. By the way, Matt Sturgeon says, agree with Kinner on that Obi statement about, yeah, like I said, I don't think Obi Toppin wins Player of the Year that year. If you replace every dunk that he had with just layups, Obi's still as good, very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he wins it. I think the flair helped put him over the top of a guy like Garza. The only reason we got into this conversation is because the previous caller had talked about Deron Holmes being further advanced or further along than what we had seen, of course, from Obi at this point. But I don't think it matters. If you look what Obi did, I don't think Dayton would change anything. Would you want Obi to develop sooner? Yeah, but with what you got, I think they'll take it. No regrets as far as that goes. Lamar Shelley says the guy from Iowa would have won if that was the case. So interesting. So Josh Maloney says that Tampa definitely bought their Super Bowl. I don't think they bought their Super Bowl. I mean, they brought in Tom Brady. They didn't buy it. I mean, they had all these guys come over on vet minimum deals. And Ndamukong Suh was vet minimum. Antonio Brown, vet minimum. Gronk, vet minimum the first year, got more money the second year. Would you consider the Buccaneers a bought Super Bowl?
No, I don't think you really can buy a Super Bowl like that. I think that is more rhetoric than anything else because it's 50 something guys on the team. Yeah. They're always going to have free agents. Like this whole narrative of, oh man, you drafted your entire team. It's impossible to draft 52 dudes to your team. It's impossible to have every guy on your team a draft pick. That's impossible. So NBA, you can do that. You can buy one in the NBA. Miami Heat bought one. But I mean, does it matter? I think it's just cooler. I think it's cooler when, you build it from the ground up and, you go through the struggle and everything like that. And then you come out on the other side on top and everything like that. I think it's cooler, better for the storyline. But, I don't necessarily think that you can buy a championship in the NFL. I think you can in Major League Baseball with pitching and everything like that, and in the NBA, but not in football, man. Football is such a team sport, and you can't have 20 free agents because there's a salary cap.
Yeah, the Bengals spent $250 million, and that's one. And to be honest, as good as their defense is, Kev, for $250 million, they should be better. But they're good enough. They've made enough plays to get there. So this isn't a crack. But in all seriousness, statistically, if you look at the money they spent on that defense, they should not be middle of the pack. They should be a top 5 defense. With how much money they spent on that defense, they should be middle of the pack. Or they should be top 5, not middle of the pack. But ironically enough, the defense is why they're in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's strange. But you could have a $250 million defense that you just knock out of the park. But if you don't draft well offensively, it don't matter. Right. You have to draft. The Bengals are the perfect combination of drafted, developed talent mixed with the free agents that they spent money on. I'm confident it's a perfect blend. The Bengals are a perfect blend, and they still have a lot more money to spend, and they have a lot more draft picks coming their way. Damon Hahn says that the Bucs, that they were no more than anyone else. They drafted Evans, Godwin, Braid, David, and many others. Just seeing that it was bought because of Brady, Gronk, and Brown.
Really, Brady. I mean, you bring in the leadership of Brady. Be
max, paying Antonio Brown.
Right.
Gronkowski getting a top 5 tight end deal. You know what I mean? Antonio Brown getting a top 5 wide receiver deal. To me, and Leonard Fournette, a top 5 running back deal. To me, getting those guys to take that kind of money, that's buying it. But they didn't. But I see Josh's point that felt like a bot when, like the Yankees, they have to go out and spend money in free agency to bring guys in to build that World Series caliber roster. That's what it felt like the Bucs did. That's what we think the Rams did. And we think that the Bengals did it the old natural way, when really the Bengals have spent 5 times the amount of money on their roster than the Rams have on theirs. Perception. That's why we did that perception versus reality topic the other day. And to be honest, there's no wrong way to do it in the NFL. And I think both teams in the Super Bowl are a prime example of that. All right, folks, we'll step away for a few moments. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Brad Mays with Home Experts Realty. Former Bengal Reggie Williams we caught up with this week. We had Keyshawn Johnson and Freddie Coleman on yesterday. ESPN's Jason Fitz, who don't have a time locked down yet. I will be hearing back here shortly from Icky Woods. We'll be lining that up to come your way as well. So much more of the show left. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash next.
Listen.